Well, I'm an educator, so most people are pretty much familiar with that because they have teachers all across the board. But my particular field is in the arts, and I'm also an arts administrator. I've worked with the California Council on the Arts, which is a funding and policy making board that funds and makes policy for the state of California. As an artist, what I found early on was a number of the materials that we were using were toxic materials. And so I made a conscious decision to use materials that were not toxic, that did not pollute the environment. Growing up, my dad was involved in industrial paper making. And so I learned early on about recycling because there were times when he would bring paper home for me to draw on, to make art out of. I try my best to use papers and use materials that are sustainably harvested. I live in California. I think there's a high awareness of sustainability and environment here. So we do a lot with recycling. We also have solar power at our home, and we are very conscious of conserving water and landscaping and all of that kind of stuff. Being at Penn State made me more acutely aware, not only of the beauty of the landscape, but also how important it is to us as a mutual connection between human beings and the earth. And as an art student, I started to photograph and paint the landscape. And that made me even more acutely aware by observing it with intention. The other thing is I remember taking a class, we took a field trip to a nuclear power plant. And this was during the time that that type of energy was relatively new and just getting started. And that sort of opened my eyes to the idea of what energy, like how we use energy, how we heat our homes, how we light our homes, et cetera. And so that I got that awareness at Penn State. Racial and gender equity in recruiting, in hiring faculty and staff is really vital to Penn State's survival. My experience at Penn State was fraught with all kinds of difficulties that I don't want to get into here, but what I do know is that there is a sustained and conscious effort now to address some of those issues. And they've been addressed cyclically over the years. But as we move into the 21st century in a more global society, I think that it's that much more important to see Penn State take the leadership in racial equity, in gender equity.